My name is Ramon, and at 35, I finally achieved my dream of buying the perfect home after 15 years of relentless work. This $2 million masterpiece represented everything I had sacrificed for. The night of my housewarming party was supposed to be a celebration with friends and family, including my sister Stephanie, though our relationship had always been complicated. I never imagined she would turn my special evening into a nightmare with a single announcement that left my guests speechless and my stomach in knots. Before I tell you how I handled my sister trying to commandeer my dream home, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. Hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned to see how I stood my ground against family who thought they were entitled to my success. Growing up in Portland, our house was always cramped, with 4 kids sharing bedrooms in our modest 3-bedroom home. Personal space was a luxury none of us had. I was the second youngest, sandwiched between my older sister Stephanie and 2 other siblings. Life wasn't easy, but it was manageable until my parents divorced when I was 12. The split devastated our family financially and emotionally. My father moved across the country, rarely sending child support, while my mother Diana struggled to keep us afloat on her secretary's salary. Those years taught me 2 important lessons. Money matters tremendously, and nobody would secure my future except me. While I worked through high school and saved every dollar, Stephanie took a different path. She was smart but impulsive. At 19, during her first semester of college, she announced she was pregnant with her boyfriend Greg. They quickly married, she dropped out of school, and their financial struggles began immediately. I continued pushing forward, working 30 hours weekly while carrying a full course load in computer science. Many nights I survived on ramen and caffeine pills, determined to graduate without the crushing debt that plagued so many of my classmates. Through strategic internships and networking, I landed a solid entry-level position at a promising tech startup right after graduation. The next 14 years were a blur of 16-hour workdays, strategic job moves, and careful investments. While my colleagues splurged on luxury cars and vacations, I lived modestly, investing every spare dollar. My strategy paid off when our company was acquired, turning my stock options into serious money. 2 more successful ventures later, I finally had the resources to consider buying my dream home. During those same years, Stephanie added 3 more children to her family with Greg, Tyler, Emma, and little Lucas joining firstborn Amanda. Their financial situation never stabilized. Greg bounced between jobs, and Stephanie worked part-time as a medical receptionist, but their income never matched their spending. They bought a house they couldn't afford during the 2008 housing bubble, barely survived the crash, and had been skating on thin ice ever since. The pattern became predictable. Every few months, Stephanie would call with a crisis: overdue mortgage payments, car repairs, medical bills. Our mother Diana consistently pressured me to help, emphasizing my duty as the financially successful sibling. I did help occasionally, paying off Stephanie's car to prevent repossession and covering 6 months of their mortgage during Greg's unemployment. Each time, I received minimal thanks and maximum expectation for the next bailout. My dream of owning the perfect home kept me motivated through these family dramas. I spent 18 months searching, viewing over 60 properties before finding the one: a stunning 5-bedroom contemporary with floor-to-ceiling windows, an infinity pool overlooking the city, a professional home theater, and a wine cellar. At $2 million, it stretched even my substantial budget. But the moment I walked through those doors, I knew this would be my sanctuary. The purchase process was grueling. Another buyer tried outbidding me at the last minute, but my all-cash offer ultimately won. After closing, I spent an additional $75,000 on furniture and decor, carefully selecting each piece to create the perfect atmosphere. The home theater received top-of-the-line equipment. The kitchen was stocked with professional-grade appliances for my newfound cooking hobby. The home office overlooking the garden became my favorite space for creative thinking. Throughout this process, Stephanie made several hints about her own housing troubles. Their roof needed repairs they couldn't afford. The school district was declining. Their growing children needed more space. I deliberately avoided offering help, tired of being the family ATM. This home would be mine alone. My reward after years of sacrifice and hard work. The housewarming party would be my moment to finally earn my family's recognition. I hired a professional event planner, selected a gourmet catering service, arranged for a bartender to mix signature cocktails, and even brought in a pianist to provide ambient music. Every detail was considered, from the artisanal cheese platters to the hand-selected wine pairings. I invited 40 guests, a mix of colleagues, neighbors, friends, and family members, hoping to showcase not just the house but the life I had built. The night before, I walked through each room alone, admiring how perfectly everything had come together. For once, I allowed myself to feel genuinely proud. This home represented every late night, every missed vacation, every sacrifice. Tomorrow, everyone would see that it had all been worthwhile. Little did I know that Stephanie had very different plans for my celebration. The evening of my housewarming party arrived with perfect weather, a warm summer sunset casting golden light through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The caterers had transformed my dining room into an elegant buffet display, while the bartender set up near the outdoor kitchen by the pool. The pianist began playing soft jazz as the first guests arrived promptly at 7. My colleague Jackson and his wife were first, bringing an expensive bottle of champagne and genuine compliments about the spectacular view. My new neighbors, the Andersons, arrived next with a handmade welcome basket. Soon the house filled with friends and coworkers, their admiration evident in their wide eyes and appreciative comments. "Ramon, this place is absolutely incredible," said Sarah from marketing, touching the waterfall countertop in the kitchen. "I cannot believe those windows. And this open concept design is perfect for entertaining." Pride swelled in my chest as I guided small groups through the house. I demonstrated the smart home system that controlled lighting, temperature, music, and security with simple voice commands. The wine cellar with its temperature-controlled racks impressed my enophile friends. The home theater with reclining leather seats and Dolby Atmos sound system drew envious comments from everyone. "You have to show us your master bathroom again," insisted my friend Michael, dragging his girlfriend along. "Tina doesn't believe me about the shower with 12 jets and built-in aromatherapy." Between tours, conversations flowed naturally about future plans. My neighbor suggested introducing me to her recently divorced cousin. Co-workers discussed our company's upcoming expansion. Friends proposed weekend gatherings at my new pool. For the first time in years, I felt my workaholism giving way to possibilities for a more balanced life. Perhaps dating seriously. Maybe eventually sharing this space with someone special. The peaceful atmosphere shattered at 8:30 when my family arrived en masse. Stephanie entered first, her 4 children immediately spreading throughout the house like an invading force. My mother Diana followed, her critical eyes scanning every surface. Greg slipped in last, looking uncomfortable and avoiding eye contact. "Well, this is certainly extravagant," said my mother, her tone making the word sound like an insult rather than compliment. "Stephanie's house is much cozier, of course, more like a real family home." Before I could respond, 10-year-old Emma ran through the living room, nearly knocking over a sculpture I'd imported from Barcelona. 7-year-old Lucas headed straight for the kitchen, his hands sticky with some unknown substance. 14-year-old Tyler immediately spotted my gaming system and began examining the controllers without asking. Only 16-year-old Amanda showed any restraint, rolling her eyes at her siblings' behavior while texting furiously on her phone. "Kids, be careful," Stephanie said half-heartedly, making no actual attempt to corral them. Instead, she pulled out her phone and began taking photos of each room, occasionally stopping to measure doorways and wall spaces with her eyes. I offered drinks and appetizers, trying to incorporate them into the existing party atmosphere. But Diana and Stephanie huddled near the kitchen island, whispering intensely and occasionally glancing in my direction. Greg hovered nearby, looking increasingly uncomfortable. I caught fragments of their conversation as I passed. "Perfect solution to everything," my mother was saying. "So much space for just one person," Stephanie replied. "Might resist at first, but he'll come around," Diana added. An uneasy feeling settled in my stomach. I watched in growing alarm as Stephanie wandered upstairs, opening bedroom doors and taking more photos. When she pulled a measuring tape from her purse and began measuring the guest bedroom, my anxiety spiked. Several of my friends noticed my distraction. "Everything okay?" Michael asked quietly, nodding toward Stephanie, who was now opening closets. "I'm not sure," I admitted. "Something feels off." This wasn't the first time my family had diminished my accomplishments. When I graduated with honors, Diana spent the entire dinner talking about Stephanie's pregnancy. When I received my first promotion, my mother reminded everyone that money isn't everything, and some people choose family over career. A thinly veiled criticism of my childless status compared to my sister's growing brood. The anxiety building in my chest intensified as Stephanie continued her home inspection tour. She examined the laundry room, commenting loudly about installing a second washer, since 7 people create a lot of laundry. She peeked into my meticulously organized closet and muttered something about needing to clear half of this out. Each comment, each measurement added to my unease. The children grew louder and more disruptive. Lucas spilled punch on my white sofa. Emma found my tablet and was downloading games without permission. Tyler had claimed the media room and was shouting into a gaming headset. Several guests began making subtle exits, sensing the uncomfortable shift in atmosphere. Just as I was about to confront Stephanie about her strange behavior, she clinked her glass loudly with a spoon, calling for everyone's attention. The room gradually quieted, all eyes turning toward her as she stood on the second step of my staircase for maximum visibility. My mother moved to stand beside her, beaming with inexplicable excitement. Greg remained in the corner, studying his shoes, as if they contained the secrets of the universe. "I'd like to make a toast," Stephanie announced, her voice carrying through the now silent house. "To my brilliant brother Ramon and his gorgeous new home." Everyone raised their glasses, but Stephanie wasn't finished. She exchanged a meaningful look with our mother, took a deep breath, and continued speaking. "And I have a special announcement that makes this evening even more perfect. First, I want to congratulate my brother on this beautiful home," Stephanie began, her voice carrying a false sweetness that immediately put me on edge. "Ramon has always been so focused on his career and making money. It's nice to see him finally have something to show for all those missed family gatherings and holidays." Several guests shifted uncomfortably at the backhanded compliment. My friend Michael caught my eye and raised an eyebrow. "But tonight isn't just about Ramon's new house," Stephanie continued, her smile widening. "It's about an amazing solution to our family's situation. As many of you know, our house has become way too small for our growing family. Amanda needs her own room as a teenager. The younger kids are sharing spaces that are just too cramped, and we've been struggling with the mortgage since Greg's hours were cut last year." I felt a cold dread spreading through my chest. Surely she wasn't about to suggest what I feared. So, we've decided to solve everyone's problems at once. Stephanie clapped her hands together excitedly. We're selling our house. In fact, we already have interested buyers coming tomorrow. And the best part is, she paused dramatically, looking around the room. We're moving in here with Ramon. The silence that followed was deafening. Several guests froze with drinks halfway to their lips. My next-door neighbor, whom I had just met 3 hours earlier, widened her eyes and looked at me in shock. Isn't it perfect? My mother chimed in, stepping forward. Ramon has all this space. 5 bedrooms in this massive house. And he's just one person. Meanwhile, the kids are cramped into tiny rooms. Your nieces and nephews need the space so much more than you do, honey. My throat constricted as I tried to form words. Before I could speak, Tyler shouted from the media room downstairs. I already claimed the basement. It's gonna be my ultimate gaming zone. Emma and Lucas thundered up the stairs, racing past their mother. I want the blue room, Emma called. No fair. I saw it first. Lucas countered, pushing ahead of his sister. The only child not participating in the room-claiming frenzy was Amanda, who stood against the wall, arms crossed, rolling her eyes so hard I feared for her optical health. This is so embarrassing, she muttered, just loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. We'll need to make some changes, of course, Stephanie continued as if I had already agreed to this outrageous plan. Some of this furniture isn't really kid-friendly, and we'll need to convert that office into another bedroom. Ramon can have the smallest room upstairs, since he's just one person. My stomach dropped. My face burned. The room seemed to tilt slightly as I struggled to process what was happening. My sister and mother were calmly discussing removing me from my master bedroom in the home I had just purchased. Several guests were already quietly gathering their belongings, sensing the family drama unfolding was not part of the evening's planned entertainment. I finally managed to speak, but Stephanie talked over me. We'll need to child-proof the pool area, obviously, and that fancy glass coffee table has to go. Way too dangerous with active kids. She gestured dismissively at my carefully selected Italian designer piece. Family comes first, Ramon, my mother added, fixing me with a stern look that dared me to object. That's always been our family's value, hasn't it? Greg finally looked up from his intense study of the floor tiles, making brief eye contact with me. He opened his mouth as if to speak, then closed it when Stephanie shot him a warning glare. Steph, maybe we should discuss the details with Ramon privately, he suggested weakly. There's nothing to discuss. Stephanie dismissed him with a wave. Ramon has all this space. We need a place to live. It's the obvious solution. He's been so busy with his career that he barely uses this place anyway. Right, Ramon? The presumption and entitlement in her voice snapped something inside me. This wasn't a spontaneous idea. The measuring, the photos, the immediate room claiming by the children, this had been planned before they even arrived. My sister had come to my housewarming party with the explicit intention of announcing she was taking over my dream home. I looked around and noticed several of my friends had already slipped out, unwilling to witness the family drama. Others stood awkwardly, drinks clutched in white-knuckled hands, gazes fixed anywhere but on the unfolding scene. We can move the rest of Ramon's stuff to the garage, my mother suggested helpfully. That gym equipment takes up so much space. And you hardly use it, right, dear? As they continued planning my eviction from my own master bedroom, a memory suddenly surfaced. 3 weeks earlier, I had received a strange piece of mail, a foreclosure notice for a property I didn't recognize. Upon closer inspection, I realized it was Stephanie and Greg's address. The envelope had been delivered to me by mistake, but the contents revealed that my sister and brother-in-law were 3 months behind on mortgage payments. I had set it aside, planning to ask them about it privately, while Stephanie detailed her plans to repaint my carefully curated rooms with more family-friendly colors. I felt a strange calm, replacing my initial shock. The pieces suddenly clicked together in my mind. A crash from the living room interrupted Stephanie's redecorating plans. Lucas had knocked over an art glass vase that had cost more than $2,000. "Oops," Stephanie said with a shrug. "See? This is why we can't have fancy breakables around. Don't worry, we'll help you child-proof everything once we move in." "When exactly were you planning this move?" asked Michael, my closest friend, who had moved to stand supportively by my side. "This weekend," Stephanie beamed. "Our buyers want to move quickly, so we'll start bringing boxes tomorrow. We can be fully moved in by Sunday night." Mother nodded enthusiastically. "I've already arranged for a moving truck. The whole family is coming to help. Uncle Ramon doesn't want us here." Amanda suddenly spoke up from her corner, her teenage perception cutting through the charade. "Maybe you should have asked him first?" The room fell silent as all eyes turned to me. My expression must have finally registered with Stephanie and my mother, whose smiles faltered slightly. "Don't be silly, Amanda." My mother recovered quickly. "Of course Ramon wants to help his family. He just needs to grow up and recognize his responsibilities. That's what family does." I felt my hands begin to tremble, not from fear or anxiety, but from barely contained anger. Without a word, I turned and walked to my home office, where my safe contained important documents. I could hear Stephanie continuing to discuss bedroom arrangements behind me as I unlocked the safe and retrieved a particular folder I had prepared after receiving that mistaken mail. As I walked to my office, I could hear Stephanie and my mother continuing to divide up my house among themselves. Their voices carried down the hallway, discussing which rooms needed repainting and which of my carefully selected furnishings would have to be replaced. "That white sofa will last about 5 minutes with the kids," Stephanie laughed. "And all these glass surfaces." What was Ramon thinking? He wasn't thinking about family. Obviously, my mother replied. Just about showing off. I entered my office and closed the door behind me, taking a deep breath to steady my nerves. The room was my sanctuary. Walls lined with books, a custom desk positioned to capture the morning light, artwork that inspired me. Now Stephanie was planning to convert it into another bedroom, erasing this space I had created for myself. Opening the safe hidden behind a painting, I retrieved a folder containing several legal documents. 3 weeks ago, I'd received a misdirected piece of mail, a foreclosure notice, for Stephanie and Greg's house. Initially shocked, I had called their mortgage holder to learn more, discovering they were not just 3 months behind, as the notice indicated, but had been playing a dangerous game of partial payments and extensions for over a year. In a moment of curiosity mixed with concern, I had asked what it would take to purchase the mortgage outright. The bank representative, sensing a potential solution to a problematic account, had been surprisingly accommodating. Within days, I had become the legal holder of my sister's mortgage without her knowledge. I'd been contemplating the best way to approach them about it, planning to offer them a more sustainable payment plan. Now, their presumptuous invasion of my new home gave this document unexpected significance. Meanwhile, the situation in my living room was deteriorating further. Through the door, I could hear Stephanie assigning bedrooms to each child. Tyler had claimed the basement media room, which housed not only my entertainment system, but also housed my extensive collection of first edition books. Emma wanted the guest room with the private bathroom, while Lucas insisted on the room closest to mine so Uncle Ramon can read me stories. Only Amanda seemed to recognize the absurdity of the situation, her occasional teenage sighs audible even from my office. My mother had moved on to calling other family members, excitedly sharing the wonderful news about the new living arrangements. Yes, Ramon has plenty of room here, she was saying. It's really the perfect solution. A single man doesn't need all this space anyway. I gripped the edge of my desk, trying to contain my anger. Throughout my life, I had worked hard to be the responsible one, the reliable one. When Greg lost his job 3 years ago, I had covered their mortgage for 6 months. When their car was nearly repossessed, I had paid it off completely. Every time, my help was accepted with minimal gratitude and maximum expectation for the next bailout. As my friend Michael often pointed out, my family had come to see me not as a person with my own life and dreams, but as a resource to be tapped whenever they mismanaged their own affairs. My success wasn't celebrated. It was expected to benefit everyone but me. A crash from the living room broke my concentration, followed by Stephanie's dismissive laugh. Just a picture frame. See, Ramon has too many breakable things around. Not practical for children at all. That was the frame holding my graduate school diploma, the degree I had earned working full-time while studying nights and weekends. The casual dismissal of something that represented years of my hard work crystallized everything wrong with this situation. A light knock on my office door preceded Michael poking his head in. "You okay, man? It's getting wild out there. Your sister is rearranging furniture already, and your mom is on the phone ordering a moving truck for tomorrow." His expression was concerned, but also contained a question. What was I going to do about this? "They've gone too far this time," I said quietly, gathering the documents from my desk. "Way too far. You know you don't have to agree to this, right?" Michael said. "It's your house. You paid for it. You get to decide who lives here." "I know," I replied, straightening my shoulders. And it's time they knew that too. When I returned to the living room, the scene had evolved further. Stephanie was directing Greg to move my dining room table to create more play space, while my mother was on her phone looking up paint colors for the master bedroom, my bedroom. The remaining guests stood awkwardly, in small clusters, witnessing my family's hostile takeover of my home with uncomfortable expressions. "The gym equipment can go in the garage," Stephanie was saying. "Ramon never uses it anyway. That makes another bedroom for when Mom stays over to help with the kids." "I think we should discuss this first," Greg suggested tentatively. "Maybe Ramon has—" "There's nothing to discuss," Stephanie interrupted sharply. "Family comes first. Ramon has all this space, and we need it. He's been selfish long enough." "Selfish?" The word escaped my lips before I could contain it. The room fell silent as everyone turned to face me. Standing in the doorway with the folder in my hand. "Is that what you think of me? That I've been selfish?" I asked, my voice steady despite the anger churning inside. "Well," my mother began, her tone condescending as if explaining something to a child. "You've always been very focused on your career and making money. Family hasn't exactly been your priority. And whose family are we talking about exactly?" I countered. "Because from where I stand, I've been supporting Stephanie's family for years. I paid off your car loan when you were about to lose it. I covered your mortgage for 6 months when Greg lost his job. I paid for Emma's emergency room visit last year when your insurance lapsed." Stephanie's expression darkened. "That's what family does. We help each other." "No," I corrected her. "That's what I do." "When was the last time you helped me with anything?" "You don't need help," Stephanie scoffed. "Look at this place. You have everything." "I have everything because I worked for it," I replied. 15 years of 60-hour weeks, sacrificing dating, friendships, vacations, all to build something for myself. And now that I finally have it, you think you can just walk in and take it? Nobody's taking anything, my mother interjected. We're sharing. That's what families do. Lucas chose that moment to run through the room, accidentally knocking over a small table holding my grandfather's antique clock, the only heirloom I had received after his death. It crashed to the floor, the glass face shattering. Oops, Stephanie said with a shrug. Kids will be kids. You'll get used to it. Something inside me snapped at her casual dismissal of the damage. No, I won't, I said firmly. Because they won't be living here. None of you will. Don't be ridiculous, my mother scoffed. Where else would they go? They've already arranged to sell their house. About that house, I said, opening the folder in my hands. There's something you should know. The room fell silent as I opened the folder. The remaining party guests seemed frozen in place, witnessing the unfolding family drama with uncomfortable fascination. Even the children sensed the tension, pausing their exploration of my home to watch. What's that? Stephanie asked, eyeing the folder suspiciously. These are property documents, I said calmly, drawing out the papers. Specifically, these are the mortgage documents for your house on Oakwood Drive. Stephanie and Greg exchanged confused glances. 3 weeks ago, I continued, I received a piece of mail that was delivered to my address by mistake. It was a foreclosure notice for your property. You opened our mail? Stephanie's face flushed with anger. That's illegal. It was addressed to me, I clarified. The bank made an error in the address field. But once I saw what it was, I became concerned. So, I made a few calls. Greg stepped forward, his expression a mix of embarrassment and concern. Ramon, I can explain. We've been having some temporary setbacks, but we're working it out with the bank. Actually, you're not, I corrected him, because the bank no longer holds your mortgage. I do. The silence that followed was absolute. My mother's mouth opened and closed without producing sound. Stephanie stared at me in shock. Even 16-year-old Amanda lowered her phone, suddenly interested in the adult conversation. What are you talking about? Stephanie finally managed. After seeing how far behind you were, I contacted the bank, I explained. Given your payment history and the amount in arrears, they were considering foreclosure. I made them an offer to purchase the mortgage outright, which they accepted. As of 2 weeks ago, I am legally the holder of your mortgage. You spied on our finances? Stephanie's voice rose to a near shriek. You went behind our backs? No more than you went behind my back to plan a takeover of my house. I countered. The difference is, I was trying to help you avoid homelessness. While you were trying to commandeer the home I worked 15 years to afford. This is cruel, Ramon. My mother interjected, her face hardening, using your sister's financial troubles against her like this. I didn't raise you to be vindictive. This isn't about vengeance, I replied calmly. It's about boundaries and respect. Something our family seems to lack when it comes to me and what I've worked for. I pulled out another document from the folder. I've had a property lawyer prepare a rental agreement. It converts your current mortgage into a lease with an option to buy. The monthly payment is 20% less than what you're currently struggling to pay, with no interest increases for 5 years. It's a fair arrangement that will let you stay in your house while rebuilding your credit. Greg reached for the document, genuine relief crossing his face before Stephanie slapped his hand away. We don't need your charity, she spat. We're selling the house. We have buyers coming tomorrow. No, you don't, I corrected her. You can't sell a house that's in foreclosure proceedings without the lien holder's approval. The bank would have explained that if you'd returned their calls instead of avoiding the situation. Greg looked increasingly uncomfortable. Steph, maybe we should look at the agreement. It sounds like it could help us. I've also arranged for a property management company to handle all the paperwork, I continued. They'll be your point of contact for payments and maintenance issues. This keeps our family relationship separate from the business arrangement. Stephanie's face contorted with anger. So, that's it? You're going to be our landlord now? Lording it over us that you own our home? No, I replied. The property management company will handle everything. You'll deal with them, not me. This arrangement gives you stability while maintaining the boundaries we clearly need. You're choosing money over family, my mother accused, her voice trembling with emotion. After everything we've done for you, the irony of her statement wasn't lost on me or apparently on Amanda, who snorted softly from her position against the wall. I'm choosing healthy boundaries, I corrected. Something I should have done years ago. You raised me to believe that family means sacrificing everything for others, but never asking anything in return. That's not family. That's exploitation. How dare you? My mother gasped. No, how dare you? I replied, my voice firm but controlled. How dare you come into my home that I paid for with 15 years of hard work and announce you're taking it over without even asking me? How dare you dismiss my accomplishments, my choices, and my right to enjoy what I've earned? How dare you teach my nieces and nephews that entitlement is acceptable behavior? The room remained silent. Even Stephanie seemed at a loss for words. I love all of you, I continued, my voice softening slightly. But love doesn't mean allowing yourself to be used. It doesn't mean abandoning your own needs or dreams to fulfill someone else's. Real family supports each other's independence and success. Real family respects boundaries. So what happens now? Greg asked quietly, the first to acknowledge the new reality. You have two choices, I said. Accept the rental agreement I've prepared, which will allow you to stay in your home under better financial terms than you currently have. Or find another solution on your own. But moving into my house is not an option. You'd let your sister and her children become homeless? My mother challenged. They won't be homeless, I replied. I'm offering them a perfectly reasonable alternative that respects both their needs and mine. The choice is theirs. Stephanie grabbed her purse from the counter. Kids, we're leaving. Now. Her voice cracked with emotion. Stephanie, wait, Greg pleaded. We should at least look at the agreement. This could solve our problems. The only problem is my selfish brother, she hissed, tears welling in her eyes. I always knew money would change you, Ramon. Dad was right about you. The mention of our father, who had abandoned us years ago and whose opinion should have meant nothing, was clearly intended to wound. I refused to let it. My success didn't change me, Stephanie. It revealed how you really see me. Not as a brother, but as a resource. I held out the rental agreement. This offer stands until Friday. After that, the property management company will proceed with standard protocols for delinquent accounts. You're dead to me, Stephanie declared dramatically, gathering the younger children. Come on, we're going. Amanda lingered behind as the others headed for the door. For what it's worth, Uncle Ramon, I think you're right, she said quietly. They shouldn't have tried to take your house. That was messed up. Before I could respond, Stephanie called for her again, and Amanda followed her family out with an apologetic shrug. My mother paused at the door. If you go through with this, don't expect to be welcome at family gatherings anymore, she threatened. If respect for my boundaries makes me unwelcome, I replied calmly, then perhaps I'm better off creating my own definition of family. The door slammed behind them, leaving an awkward silence in their wake. The remaining party guests exchanged uncomfortable glances, unsure of the proper protocol following such a dramatic family implosion. Michael approached and placed a hand on my shoulder. "You okay?" I took a deep breath, surprised to find that despite the confrontation, I felt lighter than I had in years. "Actually, I think I am." After my family stormed out, the party naturally wound down. A few close friends stayed behind, helping clean up and offering support. Michael and his girlfriend Sarah remained the longest, washing dishes and listening as I unpacked years of family dynamics that had led to this breaking point. "I know it seems harsh," I explained, collecting broken glass from the picture frame, "but this has been building for years. Every success I've had has been treated as a family resource, while every sacrifice went unacknowledged." "You don't need to justify yourself," Sarah assured me. "What they tried to do was completely out of line. Anyone can see that." As the last guests departed around midnight, my phone began lighting up with text messages and voicemails. Relatives who had received my mother's version of events were divided in their reactions. Some expressed outrage at my abandonment of my sister in her time of need. Others, particularly those who had witnessed Stephanie's entitlement over the years, sent messages of support. My Aunt Susan, my mother's sister, wrote, "About time someone stood up to Stephanie's manipulations. Your mother enables her, but you don't have to. Proud of you, nephew." Around 1 in the morning, an unexpected knock at my door revealed Greg standing alone on my porch, looking exhausted. "Can we talk?" he asked hesitantly. "Just us." I invited him in, offering coffee, which he gratefully accepted. "Stephanie doesn't know I'm here," he admitted, settling into a chair at my kitchen island. "She and your mom spent the evening calling everyone in the family, telling them how you betrayed us." "Is that what you think?" I asked. Greg shook his head slowly. "No. To be honest, I've been trying to get Stephanie to address our financial problems for years. She keeps expecting bailouts instead of making changes." He looked up, his expression earnest. "I wanted to thank you. The rental agreement you offered. It's more than fair. It's generous." His candor surprised me. "You're welcome to stay here tonight if going home would be difficult." "Thanks, but I should get back. The kids are already confused enough." He paused at the door. "Can I bring Amanda by sometime? She loves to read. And when she saw your library, her eyes lit up in a way I haven't seen in a long time." "Of course," I replied. "She's welcome anytime." The next morning brought a flood of text messages from Stephanie, alternating between guilt trips — the kids cried all night knowing their uncle doesn't want them — and threats — "We'll tell everyone what you did." My mother's voicemail struck a similar tone, predicting I would die alone because of my selfish choices. I decided that engaging directly would only escalate the situation. Instead, I texted them both the contact information for the property management company and reiterated that the rental offer stood until Friday. By Wednesday, I'd arranged to meet them at a neutral location, a quiet coffee shop downtown. Stephanie arrived with our mother in tow, both wearing expressions of righteous indignation. I had brought copies of all relevant documents, and the property manager, Miss Reynolds, who I'd asked to attend to keep the discussion professional. "Before we start," I said as they sat down, "I want to clarify that this meeting is about resolving your housing situation, not rehashing family grievances. Miss Reynolds is here to answer any questions about the rental agreement." "How generous of you to make time in your busy schedule," Stephanie said sarcastically. "I understand this is emotional," I acknowledged, "but the facts remain. Your mortgage is in default, foreclosure proceedings have begun, and you need a solution quickly. I'm offering one that allows you to stay in your home with lower monthly payments, while you lord it over us that you own our house," my mother interjected. Actually, Miss Reynolds spoke up, Ramon has specifically arranged for our company to handle all aspects of property management. He won't be involved in day-to-day matters, payment collection, or maintenance issues. It's a standard third-party arrangement that keeps personal relationships separate from business transactions. For the next hour, Miss Reynolds patiently explained the terms of the agreement, the reduced payment amount, the option to purchase after 5 years, the improved maintenance response compared to their previous mortgage holder. Throughout her explanation, I noticed Stephanie's hostility gradually giving way to reluctant consideration. "And what happens if we refuse?" she finally asked. "Then, the foreclosure process continues." Miss Reynolds replied matter-of-factly, "You would need to vacate the property within 30 days. And the default would significantly impact your credit rating for at least 7 years, making it difficult to rent or buy elsewhere." Stephanie exchanged a look with our mother. The reality of their situation was finally sinking in. "I need to discuss this with Greg," she said finally. "Of course," I nodded. "The offer stands until Friday, at 5 p.m. As they gathered their things to leave, my mother paused. "This doesn't change anything between us, Ramon. You've shown your true colors. I hope someday you'll see that establishing healthy boundaries isn't betrayal," I replied calmly. "It's actually the foundation of authentic relationships." Friday afternoon, I received a call from Miss Reynolds informing me that Stephanie and Greg had signed the rental agreement. They had made their first payment and scheduled a property inspection to address some long-neglected maintenance issues. The immediate crisis was resolved, though the family wounds remained raw. The following weeks brought continued cold treatment from some family members. Sunday dinners at my mother's house, once a monthly tradition, continued without invitations extended to me. Holiday plans were discussed in family group texts, where I was conspicuously excluded. Yet there were surprising developments as well. Amanda began visiting my house on Saturday afternoons, initially to browse my library, but eventually bringing homework and staying for dinner. During these visits, she shared that things at home were actually improving. With the reduced financial pressure, Stephanie was less stressed. Greg had taken on additional responsibilities. The constant arguments about money had diminished. "Dad says you actually saved our house," she confided one evening. "He makes Mom stop when she starts saying bad things about you now." The property management company's first monthly report revealed several issues that needed addressing: roof repairs, an aging water heater, electrical problems that posed safety hazards. Though not legally obligated, I authorized and paid for these improvements, insisting only that the work be properly permitted and inspected. When Stephanie called, suspicious about the unexpected upgrades, Miss Reynolds simply explained that the property owner wanted to maintain the home's value. 6 weeks after the confrontation, Greg reached out to invite me for coffee. Over steaming lattes, he expressed genuine gratitude. "The house feels different now," he admitted. "Not just the repairs, but the atmosphere. Stephanie won't admit it yet, but having structure and clear expectations has been good for us. For the first time, I feel like we might actually get our finances under control." My therapist, whom I started seeing to process the family fallout, helped me recognize that my actions had ultimately been a form of genuine help rather than abandonment. "You replaced enabling with empowerment," Dr. Torres observed during one session. "That's often initially perceived as cruelty by those who've grown dependent on the enabling." 3 months after the housewarming disaster, my mother unexpectedly appeared at my door, her expression uncharacteristically hesitant. "Your cousin's wedding is next month," she said without preamble. "He's asking why you haven't RSVP'd." "I wasn't invited," I replied, showing her my empty inbox. Her brow furrowed in confusion. "Of course you were. I gave Stephanie the invitations to mail weeks ago." The realization dawned on both of us simultaneously. "I'll speak with her about that," she added stiffly. It wasn't an apology, but it was the first acknowledgement that perhaps Stephanie's behavior warranted scrutiny. I accepted it as the small opening it was. "Would you like to come in for tea?" I offered. She hesitated, then nodded. "Just for a few minutes." We sat in awkward silence initially, before she finally spoke. "The children miss you." Even Stephanie admits the house is running more smoothly now. "That property manager you hired fixed things the landlord always ignored." "I'm glad to hear that." She studied her teacup intently. "You're still coming to Thanksgiving." "It wasn't right excluding you. You're still family. Even if—" She trailed off. "Even if I have boundaries?" I suggested gently. She didn't answer directly, but her slight nod was answer enough. "Small steps," I reminded myself. Decades of unhealthy family dynamics wouldn't change overnight. As she was leaving, she paused at the door. "This house. It really is beautiful. You've done well for yourself, Ramon. Your father would have been proud." Coming from her, this qualified as a significant concession. "Thank you," I replied simply. "That means a lot." Friends who had witnessed the housewarming disaster gradually felt comfortable visiting again. Dinner parties resumed, game nights became regular events, and my home truly began feeling like the sanctuary I had envisioned. Michael frequently reminded me how different I seemed since establishing boundaries with my family. "You smile more," he observed one evening. "You're dating again. Hell, you actually took a vacation last month." When was the last time that happened? He was right. Standing firm against my family's inappropriate expectations had freed me in unexpected ways. I found myself more confident in other relationships, more willing to express my needs, more comfortable saying no when necessary. The guilt that had shadowed me for years, that persistent feeling that my success obligated me to solve everyone else's problems, had finally begun to fade. 6 months after the housewarming party incident, my home truly felt like mine again. The anxiety that had previously accompanied family gatherings had diminished, replaced by a quiet confidence in my right to maintain healthy boundaries. What had initially felt like a devastating family rupture had evolved into something unexpected, a more authentic, albeit more distant, relationship with my sister and mother. Stephanie and Greg continued making regular payments through the property management company. According to Miss Reynolds, they hadn't missed a single one. The reduced payment amount, combined with financial counseling services I'd arranged as part of the agreement, had helped them begin addressing their long-standing money issues. The children now visited my house under very different circumstances. Instead of the free-for-all invasion they'd initially attempted, they came as respectful guests. Lucas no longer ran through the house touching everything. Emma asked permission before using my tablet. Even Tyler had learned to treat my gaming equipment with care. The transformation wasn't miraculous. They were still children, after all, but the difference was noticeable. "We have rules about other people's things now," Amanda explained during one of her regular Saturday visits. "Mom says, if we can't respect boundaries, we can't visit at all." The irony wasn't lost on me, but I appreciated the change nonetheless. Amanda, now 17, had become a frequent visitor, using my home office to study for college entrance exams. Her interest in literature had blossomed with access to my library, and we often discussed books over dinner. "You know, Uncle Ramon," she said one evening, "I used to think success meant having lots of money and stuff, but watching you stand up to Mom and Grandma showed me it's really about having enough confidence to live life on your own terms, even when people try to make you feel bad about it." Her insight, surprising from someone so young, reinforced my own evolving understanding of success. My career achievements had provided financial security, but establishing healthy boundaries had given me something more valuable: peace of mind. My relationship with my mother had thawed gradually. Our conversations remained somewhat stilted, but she had stopped trying to make me feel guilty about my life choices. During a recent family dinner, to which I was now invited again, she had even defended my decision to decline funding Stephanie's impulsive plan to start a home business. "Ramon has helped enough," she had said, surprising everyone at the table. "Stephanie, you need to make this work on your own." Perhaps the most unexpected development was my growing friendship with Greg. Free from the pressure of constantly mediating between his wife and me, he had revealed himself to be thoughtful and hard-working. He'd recently been promoted at work and often sought my advice on professional matters. We occasionally met for breakfast on weekends, conversations ranging from the children's activities to his renewed interest in community college courses. "I never thanked you properly," he said during one such breakfast. "Not just for the housing situation, but for showing me it's possible to stand your ground without being cruel. I've started doing that more at home, and it's changing everything." My friendships outside the family had deepened as well. The people who had stood by me during the confrontation, particularly Michael, had proven to be true friends. Our regular game nights and weekend gatherings created the sense of chosen family I had always craved. I'd even started dating again, meeting Sarah, a pediatric surgeon, through Michael's girlfriend. 3 months in, the relationship showed genuine promise. "You're different from most men I've dated," Sarah observed during a recent dinner. "You know what you want and aren't afraid to express it, but you're equally attentive to what I need. That's rare." I attributed this change directly to the boundaries I'd established with my family. Learning to say no to inappropriate demands had paradoxically made me more capable of genuine generosity when it was truly warranted. The peace I felt in my home now was incomparable. No longer waiting for the next crisis call from Stephanie or guilt trip from my mother, I could fully enjoy the space I'd created. Morning coffee on the terrace, watching the sunrise. Evening swims with underwater speakers, playing classical music. Weekends spent reading in my library without interruption. The house had become the sanctuary I had always envisioned. Perhaps most significantly, my relationship with my sister had evolved into something more honest. During a recent family birthday celebration, Stephanie had taken me aside. "I'm still mad at you," she began, characteristically blunt, "but Greg says you did us a favor, and maybe he's right. We're actually saving money for the first time ever. The kids are doing better in school without the stress of wondering if we'll have to move again. And," she hesitated, clearly struggling with the admission, "I guess it wasn't fair to try taking over your house like that." Coming from Stephanie, this qualified as a profound apology. "Thank you for saying that," I replied. "I'm proud of how you've handled everything these past months." She shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. "Well, we didn't have much choice, did we?" "There are always choices, Steph. You chose to make the best of the situation instead of letting it defeat you. That matters." The lessons I'd learned through this experience ran deep. Standing firm didn't mean standing alone. Setting boundaries wasn't selfishness, but self-respect. True family support meant helping others build their own strength, not carrying them indefinitely. Sometimes, the kindest thing wasn't giving people what they wanted, but what they truly needed: structure, accountability, and the dignity of solving their own problems. As I reflect on everything that happened, I realize that the most valuable thing I gained wasn't keeping my dream home, though I certainly appreciate every square foot of it. What I gained was the understanding that we teach people how to treat us through what we allow, what we stop, and what we reinforce. By finally refusing to be the family ATM, I opened the door to becoming something more meaningful. A brother, uncle, and son who was valued for his presence, not his presence. Have you ever had to stand your ground with family who felt entitled to what you worked for? How did you balance compassion with necessary boundaries? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you've ever had to make tough choices about family expectations, and subscribe for more real-life stories about navigating difficult relationships. Remember to share this video with someone who might need encouragement to establish their own healthy boundaries. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, true family supports your dreams rather than demanding you sacrifice them.